How we doing today, guys? It's Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, and I'm here to talk to you about an article I saw this morning from the Wall Street Journal. This one kind of scared me a little bit, and I figured you guys might be interested in checking this out. I don't know how many of y'all saw this. If you sell a house these days, the buyer might be a pension fund. Yield-chasing investors are snapping up single-family homes, competing with ordinary Americans and driving up prices. That's what scares me, the competing with ordinary Americans. This one's just making the rounds, but it was actually published on April 4th, 2021. A bidding war broke out this winter at a new subdivision north of Houston, but the prize this time was the entire subdivision, not just a single suburban house, illustrating the rise of big investors as potent new force in the U.S. housing market. D.R. Horton Incorporated built 124 houses in Conroe, Texas, rented them out, and then put the whole community, Amber Pines at Foster Ridge, on the block. A who's of investors and home rental firms flocked to the December sale. The winning $32 million bid came from an online propriety investing firm, Fundraiser LLC, which manages more than $1 billion on behalf of 150,000 individuals. The country's most prolific home builder booked roughly twice what it typically makes selling houses to the middle class, an encouraging debut in the business of selling entire neighborhoods to investors. We certainly wouldn't expect every single family community we sell to at a 50% gross margin, but the builder finance chief Bill Wheat said at a recent investor conference. From individuals with smartphones and a few $1,000s to pensions and private equity firms with billions, yield-chasing investors are snapping up single-family houses to rent out or flip. They are competing for houses with ordinary Americans who are armed with the cheapest mortgage financing ever and driving up home prices. You now have permanent capital competing with a young couple trying to buy a house. When they're talking about permanent capital, they're talking about like the big investment firms, all of the hedge funds and those kind of people, the people with millions upon millions, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions in the bank, cash in hand, ready to go. You now have permanent capital competing with a young couple trying to buy a house, said John Burns, whose eponymous real estate consulting firm estimates that many of the nation's top markets, roughly 1 in every 5 houses is bought by someone who never moves in. That's going to make the U.S. housing permanently more expensive. See, now that's what's really scary. These people are buying up these houses just to either flip them or rent them. They're not even individual buyers going out to buy a home so that way you can own your own property and actually build something. And right there, it says with all of these houses being bought up by these firms, everything's going to be more expensive. That's really, really scary. The consulting firm found to be a favorite haunt of investors who have lately accounted for 24% of home purchases there. Investors' slice of the housing market grows, as it does in other boom towns such as Miami, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. Among properties, priced below $300,000 and in decent school districts. A limited housing supply, low rates, a global reach for yield, and what we're calling the institutionalization of real estate investors has set the stage for another speculative investor-driven home price bubble, the firm concluded. Institutionalization of real estate investors. That's weird. That sounds weird to me. Starting to sound like landowners all over again. Are we going to go back to real landlords? Lords of the state? The bubble has room to grow before it bursts, according to John Burns Real Estate Consulting. But it is inflating fast. The firm expects prices to climb 12% this year, on top of last year's 11% rise and the increase at least 6% in 2022. A period of appreciation and reminiscent of 2004 and 2005. That boom was different, fueled by those lending-enabled individuals to speculate on home prices by racking up mortgages. Okay, so most of us remember what happened. A lot of you that are probably watching this remember what happened in the 2018 bubble. If you don't, here's a little refresher course for you. The government backed a whole bunch of loans for houses under this idea that everyone in the United States should own a home, even if you couldn't afford it. So the problem was you had a whole bunch of people that got these really low interest rate, next to no interest rate, with no credit, getting a bunch of these loans for houses way outside of their price range, things that they couldn't afford, and the whole thing ended up collapsing, and a whole bunch of companies came in and bought a whole bunch of foreclosed homes, flipped them, and turned them into rental homes. So that's kind of what this is explaining right down through here. So, yeah, see, home rental firms, including Invention Homes and American Homes for Rent, thrived. Renting suburban homes provided so profitable that landlords hit the open market and added properties at a full price once foreclosures dried up. Many now build houses explicitly to rent, which means you are never going to own a house again. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. All right, let's keep going. So the coronavirus pandemic sparked a race for home office space and yards. Occupancy rates and records and rents are rising with home prices. The ecosystem of companies that service, finance, and mimic the mega landlords is booming. Burns counted more than 200 companies and investment firms in the house hunt. Computer-assisted flipper Open Door Technologies incorporated money managers including JP Morgan Asset and BlackRock Incorporated. Platforms such as Fundrise that buy and arrange for management of rentals on behalf of individual companies and builder LGI Homes, which now reports wholesale home sales to bulk buyers in its quarterly results. Spring brought a fresh stampede of buyers. See, BlackRock, that's one of those things that scares me because BlackRock has a lot of very, very close ties to the Biden administration. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this article up, because BlackRock's goal is to beat out the Great Reset by buying up a whole bunch of properties and having so much money and so much cash on hand that when the Great Reset comes, it won't affect them, or at least they'll be in such a position to where even if they lose tens of millions of dollars, it won't matter. It's not going to make a difference to them. So the reason why I want to bring this article up is because this all goes back to what we've been talking about with like BlackRock and a lot of the rest of these companies when they're talking about the Great Reset. They're going out there and these giant firms are going out and buying a whole crap ton of houses that could easily be bought by individuals and families to be able to grow and be able to pass on generational wealth. That's how most middle class and lower class people do it. We buy houses, we invest in property, we invest in land, and that's how we pass our generational wealth on to our children and our posterity so they can do better and do better than we did. That's kind of the whole goal of the American dream, for your children to do better than what you did. That's the point of property and being able to pass all of that kind of stuff on, so you can leave something behind for your children. Now, if you're spending the rest of your life renting from some giant mega corporation that's got rental properties all over the country, or even just a minor one that just controls all the houses in your own personal city, then this is something you should be very worried about. If you have any dreams whatsoever of buying a house or being stable on your own, this should scare you. They are trying to make it to where we have nothing more than a low-end class that is subservient to the high-end class. They are trying to turn us into serfs, and this is one of the methods by which they do it, by buying up all the land. If any of you have been paying attention to the news, you now know Bill Gates is the #1 farmland owner in the country. And if that doesn't scare the hell out of you or make you worried, or at least make you stop and go, why would a computer tech mogul wanting to buy up farmland? Well, this is also the same guy that's been promoting the alternatives to traditional meat, the fake meat products. Well, weird. Now, this is strictly a conspiracy. This is strictly me thinking out loud. What if the easiest way for him to make sure we all get on the fake meat and we stop raising cows to eat is for him to buy up all the farmland and never sell it, so that way no one can raise cattle? That's just me thinking out loud. So, yeah, I wanted to bring this up to you guys and let you see it and check it out. By all means, go and click the article, look at it. I think this is really scary, and if this is something where I know here in Corpus, we're building a lot of new housing subdivisions. There's a lot of contractors come in, properties being bought up. We're creating new houses, and it seems like one of the things that really kind of piqued my interest on this was the city council recently approved some land over here in the Bluff to be rezoned so it can be turned into individual homes and some duplexes as well. It's supposed to be some high-end duplexes, duplex townhomes. Well, as I was watching the city council meeting, one of the things that I saw was that the initial plan for that entire property right on Flower Bluff Drive, backing up to the Laguna Madre, was to put in like a 2,500 unit apartment complex. Okay, well, that kind of sure sounds like these same kind of plans, huh? Because now, instead of being able to buy you a house with some property of your own and own that house and be able to pass that on to your children when you die, they would this retail investor who's buying this property from the Smith family wanted instead of turning it into regular houses with a little bit of property on them, like almost all the rest of Flower Bluff Drive and what the majority of the bluff is all about. Instead, they wanted to turn it into a 2,500 apartment complex, 2,500 housing unit apartment complex. Well, that doesn't sound like home ownership to me, and it doesn't sound like a very good use of the land. I'm glad the city didn't go with that, and the Navy objected to it a lot. But that's why that kind of stuff being brought up right here in Corpus is why I think articles like this are important and why I think you all need to be paying attention to stuff like this. They are pushing for the Great Reset. And the only way individuals like you and me and all the rest of us low-hanging fruit folks that don't have a bunch of money, the only way we're going to be able to survive this is by buying goods and services and keeping your money in safe places. I'm a big fan of crypto. I think crypto's good. I also think precious metals are good. I have some of that too. They are trying to do everything they can to strip wealth away from the middle class and the lower income people. They are doing everything they can to consolidate this stuff and consolidate their power. They want to be able to control your life. They want you to live in the pod and they want you to eat the bugs. Well, we're Americans. We don't live in pods and we don't eat bugs unless we're really hungry. We go out there, we have our own property, we build our own lives, and we do our own thing. And to any of you out there who still think the Great Reset is a conspiracy, look at articles like this. Look at what's coming out in the Wall Street Journal. Look at what's coming out on their own Economic World Forum websites. It's all there. Even Russell Brand is talking about this now. When I've got Glenn Beck and Russell Brand talking about the exact same topics with just as much fear in their voices, I think it's seriously time for the rest of us, the common man, to pay attention and start fighting back. Get involved. Pay attention. Look at the city councils. Watch what they're doing. Make sure your voice is heard. There was a lot of people in the Bluff that stood up at that city council meeting and said they did not want some giant complex in their neighborhood. And I respect them for that. More people need to be doing that kind of thing. Like Steve Dace says all the time for this whole year, the goal of the show, the answer is us. And it's true. No one's going to come in and save you. Trump's not going to magically come back around and fix all of this. Hell, he couldn't fix half of this stuff to begin with. No one's coming to save us. We have to be our own heroes. Hey guys, if you want another way to support this channel, please go check out our Teespring store at the Common Man, Corpus Christi. We've only got a couple of t-shirts up there for right now, but we'll be working on more ideas as they come. Big shout out to Carrie from the EIP, who helped us come up with the Conservatarian Idea t-shirt. She actually made one for me and gave it to me. And then Duplicitous Dwarf comes from a Twitter line that I saw on the Steve Day Show's Twitter feed. So please go over to the store. It really will help support out the channel and help us grow and get even bigger and better equipment for the channel. So please go over there to the Common Man Corpus Christi on Teespring and check out the shirts. Thanks, guys.